Well, hello everybody, welcome back to Yard Sale Squad. I cannot believe that we are beginning a new month, but time just keeps on rolling and here we are. So let's do an April reset together. As always, thank you to Lydia Sin. She is the inspiration for this video, and it's just kind of fun to reset the month and kind of talk about things and look at how things have changed, maybe look at how things are the same. It's just been a very good practice for looking back and then looking forward. So I wanted to kind of go through the normal categories that I go through, just kind of talk about some things that I've listened to, some things that I'm reading, talk about a couple of food things and some habit things. So let's just jump right in. Okay, so the first thing is a snack. So whenever I was newly postpartum with my son, so that's been 7 years ago, I was really into making these little banana bites snacks. You would slice up a banana that was no spots, not a very ripe banana, just a very yellow good banana, slice it up and freeze it, and then I would put a little dollop of peanut butter on it, and then I would dip the whole thing in chocolate. And then I also discovered that it's very good to put a little sprinkle of pink Himalayan salt on top, and then you freeze all of it, and then I just keep them in a Tupperware container in the freezer. I had not made these in years, and I kind of got the craving for them the other day, so I made a pan of them. And they are just the perfect thing if you want something sweet, but you don't want something big, and you also don't want something heavy. The banana gives it a lot of natural sweetness, and of course there's sugar in the peanut butter and the chocolate. But again, it's very small. So I can show that in a video if anybody's interested. It's a very simple process, but I have really enjoyed kind of reintroducing those. Secondly, the sunlight, I just have to address that because it is streaming in right now. We got a lot of rain in March. It just felt like we got more than our share, and definitely not complaining, but it has been really nice to just experience the warmth of the sunshine. All right, so I want to address a couple of things that I talked about in my March reset and kind of give an update on those. The first thing is my Instagram routine. So I'm always trying to figure out what's the best balance for me with social media and where's a good place for me to be as far as my time. I'm sure you are aware, but social media can just really be a huge time suck. It can just take so much of your time, and it definitely does that for me. And I can try to put limits, on my social media usage, but I will just blow right past them. And it's not something that I like about myself, but it's just the way that it is. And it seems like I'm very all or nothing with it. It seems like I either do it or I just have to cut it out altogether. So I decided to try this habit where I delete my social media apps throughout the week. So pretty much Monday through Friday, or at least middle of the day Monday through middle of the day Friday, I am deleting the social media apps from my phone. And then I will spend some time on them over the weekend. And then at the very end of the weekend, I will share a weekly recap in my Instagram stories. There are some channels on Instagram that I really derive a lot of inspiration from. There are decor channels and some fashion channels, and so I really have enjoyed following the people that I like to follow. And again, I mentioned this in March, just decreasing that number. And, honestly, if I could have it my way, I probably would follow, like 50 people. But it just kind of, it grows, and then before you know it, you're following more people than you realize. But I will say that habit, I've been going, I guess, a month about doing this, and I have really enjoyed it. I did have to re-download Facebook, unfortunately, because I was missing some things with like some school groups and things like that we're a part of. So I did have to re-download that one. And so I'm just having to be mindful of how much time I'm spending on that. And I didn't usually spend a lot of time on it, but now that I'm not having Instagram through the week, I'm finding myself like resorting to Facebook more. So that's just something that I've kind of got to keep in check. But overall, it has been a really good habit. And I've actually had a few people on Instagram tell me that they've really enjoyed the little weekend updates. So far so good. I'm really enjoying it. The other thing that I have started doing is changing my cell phone ringer and my text message alert. I've kind of just had the same cell phone ringer and text message alert for a really long time. And as I'm trying to be smarter with my time, I just noticed that those noises can sometimes be very alerting to me, and they can feel very high urgency. And every text message and every phone call is not urgent, but it just was feeling like that. And I mentioned something to Brandon, and he said, I've always thought your text message alert was kind of, you know, loud, but he had just never said anything. I definitely wanted something soft, and I didn't want it to be something that when I got it, I became panicked that somebody needed to get in touch with me, or I had to look at this right away. All right, so my ringtone is this one. It's called Seedling. And then my text tone is called Welcome. It's just very simple. So again, a very, very small change, but it has just helped me to go, oh, somebody's calling me. Oh, I have a text message, instead of, you know, jumping to whatever my brain wants to go to. I've forgotten something, somebody's mad at me, whatever. Okay. And kind of segueing from like mental health, somebody's mad at me, that kind of thing. I have noticed something that has kind of sparked some gratitude and has been a new practice for me in the month of March, and I plan on carrying this out. So stick with me here. I want to try to articulate it as well as I can. I've noticed that there are days where I focus more on negative, non-productive thoughts than others. And what I have noticed is that if I have some sort of physical ailment, if I have a stomach ache, or I have a headache, or I have pulled a muscle, or my back is sore, or, you know, whatever it is, if I have, you know, sinus issues going on, I've noticed if I have something physical, mentally I am in a better headspace, because I can't mentally go to those non-productive places, because my thought process is solely on, I don't feel well, how can I feel better, and how can I work towards wellness? So all that to say, I've tried to notice those times when my thoughts start going to non-productive and non-fruitful places, and on those days, rather than just getting caught up in the heaviness of where my thoughts might go, I've started using that as a moment of gratitude to say, thank you, Lord, that I feel well today, because I know that I feel well, because if I didn't, then my thoughts would be on that. That's certainly not to say that our physical and mental health aren't connected and there's not some crossover there. Absolutely, of course, the two things are tied together. But I hope you understand what I'm saying. I hope that I'm articulating it well. Basically, just if I notice that I'm having kind of a harder day up here, then it means that I need to be thankful that I'm having a good day everywhere else, if that makes sense. Okay, books. I am working hard to become more of a reader, and I started the second Harry Potter book, so I started The Chamber of Secrets. It is interesting reading them after watching the movies. I think I said, I'm pretty sure that I read some of them like in adolescence, but I don't remember how many I read, and of course that's been a little while ago. But I have found them to be, at least so far, pretty accurate to the way that they are depicted in the movies. So I'm really enjoying them. I'm almost halfway through that one. And then I'm also going to be reading back through For the Children's Sake. I'm really trying to work on honing in on what homeschooling looks like for our family, and what kind of homeschool we are, and what things are really important to me, and being able to articulate that. So I wanted to reread this book. So that's on my list for the month. And then also, back last year, I read a Kristen Hanna book, The Four Winds, and I loved it. It is a historical fiction book, and I just really enjoyed it. So I just checked out another one. It's called The Nightingale. I actually think I checked this one out last year, but with the renovations and the move and everything, I think I just took it right back to the library and did not even open it. So I'm going to finish Harry Potter, and then I'm going to start on The Nightingale and maybe turn in both of my library books before having to renew them. That's kind of the goal. All right, I usually try to mention a podcast or two if I have listened to anything particularly encouraging. And you guys, I listened to a really good one again. So I don't think I've mentioned this podcaster maybe in my reset videos, but her name is Nancy Ray. Her podcast is Work and Play with Nancy Ray. All right, she interviewed a woman. Her name is Barbara Hemphill, and it's called Less Clutter, More Life. And so this is always a topic that's interesting to me, particularly as we have moved to our little house and just trying to only keep the very minimal things that we love, not necessarily being a strict minimalist, but just really being mindful about what things we bring into our home and what things we keep in our home. So anyway, I found this podcast, and it actually ended up being a two-part thing because it was so packed and so meaty. It was really good. And Barbara was actually like one of the pioneers, maybe the first one. I don't know. She was very early on in the decluttering minimalism kind of world, and she shared so much of her story in the interview. But if you are a podcast listener like I am, sometimes you've probably noticed when there are interviews that are a little more one-sided. Like sometimes you find yourself just thinking this is not a back and forth conversation. This is, you know, heavy on the interviewer or heavy on the interviewee. And I noticed during the interview that Barbara was just talking so much, but she's such a great storyteller and she has such an interesting life story that I found myself not even minding that it was a little more one-sided and that the interviewee was really, really talking and there weren't a ton of questions being bounced back by Nancy. There was definitely some back and forth, but again, just I would advise you to go and listen to it if you enjoy things like this. They even talked about the spiritual aspect of our stuff, and it just, you know, there are so many different avenues that you can look at, channels, you know, mine is one of them, of trying to become good stewards of our things and decrease our things, but this is one of the best that I've ever heard in this arena. So if you enjoy this topic, I will link that down below. All right, I think that is maybe everything. I am actually getting ready to kind of do a first quarter of the year evaluation of my channel and my content and what has performed well and what has not performed well, and just kind of looking at the trends and trying to really produce content that you guys enjoy seeing. So if you would just give me a comment down below and tell me what you hope to see in the second quarter, and you know, what you like about this channel, what you come here for, that is always really helpful. So I'm getting ready to do that. April is a big birthday month for us. My son's birthday is in April. My birthday is in April. So just a very joy-filled month. I am also really excited about doing my spring capsule. I thought that I was going to do it by the end of March, but it has been pretty rainy here, and so I have kind of been pulling from some pieces, but I have not done the actual switch. But that's going to happen in the next week, and whenever I'm all finished, I will of course share it with you guys. All right, so I think that's really all I have for my April reset. So thank you guys so much, as always, for stopping by, and I will be talking to you soon.